Hello everybody, my name's Novi and welcome back to the channel. As many of you know, I'm not much of a WWE watcher. I primarily focus on AEW and New Japan on this channel because that's the kind of wrestling that I enjoy. It's not that I think the WWE is awful creative-wise or anything though. I do keep up with what they're doing a lot of the time, it's just not usually for me. And really, that same sentiment applies to NXT too. That show is just not the way I like my wrestling presented. However, it seems like it's exactly what a lot of people want to see from their wrestling, judging by the ratings and what I see online. That brand really is exploding right now, which even had someone like me asking why. So in the pursuit of knowledge about Graps, I've come up with a few reasons why I think NXT is exploding right now in terms of popularity. Before we dive into all that though, leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for live streams every Wednesday before Dynamite and new videos just like these every single Saturday, always doing one thing: talking Graps. First, I think it's best we talk about the presentation as a whole, because of course that's essential to this conversation. NXT is unlike any other wrestling show in the world, and maybe any that's existed ever. Shawn Michaels puts together these shows in a way that makes them feel so chaotic, like things are just happening all the time. I've seen guys get kayfabe murdered on the show, and I've also seen some intense main event level Graps as well. If I'm being honest too, I think there's a ton of merit in the way that they build these shows. The vast majority of their roster are new to wrestling as a whole, or just the WWE system in general. So having them go out there and try a bunch of stuff to see what sticks makes a lot of sense. Given the stuff isn't always murder mysteries involving the Italian mob, I think it's okay to book that way. And look, I'll be honest, a lot of the things they do try suck and end up being pretty cringeworthy. It happens a lot more than people are willing to admit sometimes. But the point of the system is to find things that work amidst all that, and then honing in on that and making it a centerpiece of the show. Plus, pretty much all of these wrestlers are learning how to do, pretty much everything wrestling related, so I'm willing to cut them some slack. Another thing too, it's a wrestling show at the end of the day. There's gonna be a lot of things on there that are just generally not good. That kind of just comes with this form of entertainment, it seems. But NXT is not afraid to try anything and everything, good or bad. And I think that makes for a show that feels free in a really unique and special way. Another thing that's helped NXT get so big is how they build their rising talent. More often than not, NXT makes a concerted effort to push any standouts that come along up into someone worth paying attention to. And yes, I get that's what they're built to do, they are developmental after all, but they do it so well that I still feel like it's worth mentioning. Just look at Obafemi being built into the unstoppable force that he is today in a little over a year, or how they get damn near every woman on the roster, good or bad, over in some fashion. Or more so than both of those, Trick Williams, who went from a sidekick to the champion of the brand. He's the greatest example of this because NXT clearly saw his connection with the fans and his very natural charisma. Then they subsequently took a chance on him, regardless of his shortcomings. He's still not a great wrestler in the ring. He's not very polished and all that sort of stuff, but NXT has this way of accentuating his strengths, which of course is his charisma like I mentioned. NXT is at an advantage with this sort of thing too, given there's so many comers and goers at the main event level, given it's developmental, giving them free will to take those chances like the one they took on Trick. And then from there, they just hope to see these guys grow in that role. Like I said before, I'm no regular watcher or anything like that, but from what I have seen, it's pretty clear that Trick is learning a lot from being put in that position. Them being able to take this opportunity to push him at a main event level is making him better, and it's kind of rising him up as a talent, which is a thing that wrestling fans love to see more so than almost anything else if I'm being honest. Why do you think AEW fans love the story of Hangman so much, or why WWE fans love the story of Cody? Those stories both include a level of nuance that we don't normally see in NXT, but at their core, they're about a wrestler climbing to the top through all the adversity they might face, which is what this game is all about. And like I said, NXT gets the chance to do that so often with their rotating cast of young talents. So fans get to see this story of rising up and these talents getting better and better from the very beginning, which roots this deep connection in them with those wrestlers that keeps them engaged in their careers long term, which leads me to my next point. This new version of the call-up system is a whole lot better than where it was. It wasn't that long ago where if damn near anybody from NXT got called up to that main roster, it was an almost certainty that they'd be stuck in catering or just presented in a way completely opposite to how they were in NXT. Because more often than not, they'd be moved up with no plans whatsoever. They wouldn't have a set spot to fill on the TV, and in a lot of cases, they'd never get one because they'd probably get fired before they did. Which back then would make fans feel like they couldn't latch on to any wrestler from the brand because it was likely they'd just get fucked when they moved up to the main roster. NXT was barely a developmental back then. It was more of a safe haven for wrestlers to not get butchered by main roster creative. Nowadays, however, it's far more likely that people from NXT get time on the shows, which makes fans feel like their emotional investment in the talent pays off, because now they get to see them on big main roster pay-per-views and all that. This isn't to say that that's always the case though. Just ask Blair Davenport what she's been up to lately. Or ask the same question to Dijak, who, well, isn't even with the company anymore, and right now is kind of exposing a lot of the faults that still remain with this system. Clearly, going off of what he said, the system still needs working on and still holds a lot of the same issues that they have held for a while now. People just should get called up with a purpose, that's just a given. But at least the hit rate on it working well is a lot higher than what it used to be, which was damn near 0%. Take for example Carmelo Hayes, Ilya Dragunov, Lyra Valkyria, or Braun Breaker. These are all NXT talents who have things to do on the main roster from the jump, which, like I said, is exactly what call-ups should have always been. But at least now, fans can root for their guys to do well on the main roster with more confidence than they had before, even if that percentage goes from 0% to 75%. It's a big difference that helps with the investment of NXT as a brand, which in a lot of ways explains the last point I'm going to make when it comes to NXT's popularity exploding. NXT fans are some of the most loyal fans in all of wrestling. Through all the things I've talked about in this video, they've cultivated an audience that's willing to sit through almost anything, no matter how goofy it is. It's not like the other wrestling shows who have to fight to keep their audience tuned in. NXT fans seem like a group of people that will always watch, no matter what. And I think that's just because NXT is unlike any wrestling show out there, like I said at the top of this video. You can only get the kind of Graps content they're putting out from them, which is so important in a wrestling world that has a show damn near every day of the week. It's because of that uniqueness that fans want more and more of this crazy, wacky reality TV style of wrestling. NXT has its own certain way that it chooses to present the sport, and while I can't say that it's always for me, I get why it connects with so many people. NXT, for all of its faults, is a true one-of-one wrestling show. And for my money, that, alongside all the other things I talked about in this video, explain why they're growing so much, so fast. With the title of the video being said, that's going to do it for today's video, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It's not my usual style of content. You guys know what two companies I usually stick to, but I just found this rapid growth of NXT really compelling, and it made me really want to make a video about it. So again, I hope you enjoyed the switch up. If you did, leave a like down below, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel for new videos just like these every Saturday, talking Graps. One more thing before I go too, if you guys missed the announcement on my community tab yesterday, I was on the Late Night Grin. We discussed everything Forbidden Door, previewing and predicting that show. So if you're looking for my thoughts on Forbidden Door going in, I know I ran that poll where, I might have made a predictions video, but I got invited to do that, so I did that instead. If you're looking for that, make sure to check that out. I'll leave a link to it down below, and make sure just to support those guys and what they're doing over there, because I've been a fan for a long time and it really was an honor to go on their show. Now, with all that being said, it's been Novi. Much love to you all. Peace.